Billionaire disguised himself as a madman to test people's hearts while others mocked and scorned him. Rose saw the truth: kindness is more valuable than wealth. There was a busy food stall run by Mrs. Chin and her 3 daughters. The youngest daughters, Maya and Lisa, were as beautiful as they were cruel. But Rose, the eldest, had a heart as pure as gold, a kindness that shone through in everything she did. Life at the food stall was simple. The smell of hot soup and fresh bread brought villagers from all around. Mrs. Chen and her 2 younger daughters served the wealthy customers with bright smiles, but behind their fake grins, they showed no kindness to anyone they deemed beneath them. The poor, the sick and the helpless were met with sneers and harsh words. One morning, a strange man appeared in the village. He wandered the streets with tattered clothes, talking to himself, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, lost in his own world. The villagers quickly labeled him the madman. No one knew his secret. He was Michael Zhang, a young billionaire who was fed up with being loved only for his money. He had chosen to disguise himself as a mentally ill man, to test people's hearts and see who would show him true kindness. Maya and Lisa were relentless in their cruelty. Look at that crazy man. They would shriek whenever Michael walked past. They would splash him with dirty water and chase him away from their food stall. We don't serve madmen here. Mrs. Chen would laugh watching her daughters torment the poor man. But Rose couldn't stand it. Her heart ached every time she saw the cruelty her family and the villagers showed to him. "Stop it," she would shout at her sisters, her voice trembling with anger and frustration. "Mental illness isn't something to mock. How dare you treat someone like this just because he's different?" She would turn to her mother, eyes filled with tears of disbelief. "Mother, you should be teaching them compassion, not cruelty. What if it were us in his shoes? You don't know what someone is going through." While her mother and sisters laughed, Rose's kindness never wavered. When no one was watching, she would seek out the madman. She would bring him food, clothes, and water. She would sit with him, even when he spoke in riddles, always listening, always showing respect. She even defended him from villagers who tried to chase him away, telling them, "He's still a human being. He deserves kindness, not your cruelty." One day, while sitting with him, Michael had a rare moment of clarity. He looked at Rose, his eyes clear, and asked, "Why aren't you afraid of me like the others?" Rose smiled softly, the warmth in her heart shining through. "Because I see a person, not a sickness. Everyone deserves kindness, no matter what they're going through." For a whole year, Rose cared for Michael in secret. She didn't tell anyone about the time she spent with him, not wanting to be mocked or judged. And then one day, Michael disappeared. Rose couldn't sleep, worried sick about what had happened to him. She feared the worst, that the cruelty of the villagers had driven him away, or that something terrible had befallen him. A week later, just as Rose's heart was growing heavy with despair, 3 shiny black cars rolled into the village. Their polished surfaces gleamed in the sun, drawing the attention of everyone. Villagers whispered and pointed as the cars stopped in front of Mrs. Chen's stall. Out stepped a tall, handsome man, dressed in an immaculate suit, every inch of him exuding wealth and power. But there was something familiar about his eyes. It was the madman. Mrs. Chen, Maya, and Lisa froze, their faces draining of color as they realized who he really was. The man they had tormented, laughed at, and thrown dirty water on was not mad at all. He was a wealthy and powerful man. Overcome with fear, they fell to their knees, begging for forgiveness. "Please, sir, we didn't know," Mrs. Chen cried. "We thought you were just some poor madman." Maya and Lisa wept. "We're so sorry, please forgive us." But Michael's eyes were fixed on Rose, who stood frozen in disbelief. He walked past her mother and sisters without a word, stopping only when he stood in front of Rose. "Rose," he said softly, taking her hands in his. "For a year, I pretended to be someone I wasn't. I wanted to see how people would treat me if I had nothing, no money, no status. You were the only one who showed me true kindness. When everyone else mocked me, you defended me. When others chased me away, You gave me food and clothes. You saw me for who I was, not for what I seemed. The villagers, who had gathered to watch, gasped as Michael got down on one knee. Rose? He continued, I am not really a madman. My name is Michael Zhang, and I came here looking for something real, true love. Will you marry me? Rose's heart raced, but she didn't say yes right away. I cared for you because you needed help, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. I didn't do it because I wanted anything in return. I need to know that you are still the person I cared for, the man with a kind heart, not just a wealthy stranger. Michael's smile widened, tears of admiration filling his eyes. That's why I love you, Rose. You care about what's in someone's heart, not what they have. Mrs. Chinmaya and Lisa were left to reflect on their actions. They had missed the opportunity to show kindness when it mattered most. They learned the hard way that wealth and status mean nothing if your heart is cold. This story became a lesson for the entire village. It taught them that true character is revealed in how we treat those who seem different from us. Rose's kindness wasn't just a gift to Michael, it was a reminder to everyone that compassion and love should be given freely, without expectation of reward. We should never judge others based on appearances or status, because the true worth of a person lies in their heart. In time, Rose did come to know the real Michael and found that he was just as kind and genuine as the man she had cared for. And when she finally said yes to his proposal, it wasn't because of his wealth but because of the pure gold in both of their hearts.